We have Zachary on the phone. He's from Texas and he's here to tell a story. We even got a video to go along with this story. So we'll be going over that tonight. And if you like the content and want to follow us along on the road trip, make sure you like and subscribe, leave a comment. And here we go. So, Zachary, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. And can you hear him, Rob?
Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check.
Yeah. All right, dude. So we're going to get going. JC, can you hear us? Say something. All right, Zachary. We're going to go ahead and go and get scared, man. So tell me what you got.
Well, where can I start? You want me to start with, like, when it all first started happening?
Yeah, right at the beginning.
Okay, I'll try to keep it as organized as I possibly can. So it all started a lot like with you, or at least I believe it started the same way, so similarly at least. It just started small, just weird stuff that didn't make any sense. Stuff being misplaced, weird knocking when I know damn well I'm the only one in the apartment. And then when it started getting a little bit more intense, I mean, I've always been, I feel kind of bad saying this now that I know this is all real, but I used to be a hardcore skeptic, so much so that I used to straight up make fun of people that said they had experiences. So in my mind, the first thing I'm thinking when this is starting to get really significant is I go straight to schizophrenia. I think, God damn it, I'm actually losing my mind.
Right.
It's because at the time it was happening, that's generally when schizophrenia starts. So that's instantly where my mind goes.
Yeah, seeing shit. I went through the same thing, man.
Yeah.
I didn't believe in all this stuff, you know what I mean? And I thought a lot of the stuff that I was hearing in church when I was a kid just didn't add up. You know what I mean? And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Absolutely. Oh, no, you're good. No worries. But so when it was just really starting to get crazy, I was so desperate for that not to be the case. And it just seemed so real. And I know, and that scared me even more because I know, I've known people that unfortunately suffered from schizophrenia, and they always say it just seems so real. So I'm scared, but I'm not really accepting that could possibly be what it is. So I guess 6 weeks in, that's when I started trying desperately to get something on camera. But the problem is, by the time I actually started recording, it would stop.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you know how difficult it is.
Oh, it's insane, man. That's why I don't have 10,000 videos, because when I do catch it, it's not only am I flipped out, fuck, man.
And yeah, you got to deal with that.
I'd almost rather take the meds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not something you can just, for me anyway, that I've been able to be that shit's not, whatever.
Yeah, so it slowly just, it started, like I said, it started small. It was and the more, I'll talk about this more later, but the more I would acknowledge it, the more I would try to for instance, a lot of the time I'd be laying on my little cot, which is where the video takes place, is the cot, where the dining room was supposed to be, but we didn't really have dining room stuff. So I had this little cot that I would just chill on sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time I'd be laying on that. And behind me was the bathroom, and I know damn well I'm there by myself. And the door would just not only open, but then it would slam violently. And then I'm thinking, is there a squatter?
Yeah.
In my attic? Oh, wait, I'm on the first floor, so it can't possibly be that.
Right.
And then I'd go get up and check, and lo and behold, there's nothing there. And then it progressed to pictures literally flying off the wall. Things cabinets and drawers just opening violently. In fact, that's what happened that made me start filming in the video we'll see later.
Yeah.
And it just kept on getting worse and worse, and especially when I started trying to get something on camera.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like the very second I tried to start getting like these little small things on camera, it would just get infinitely worse as the more I tried to do that.
Right.
And then finally, I got something. And at that point, it was like this huge, it was a bittersweet moment. Because it was like, yeah, I know I'm not crazy, but at the same time, now I know I'm not crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, and you're like, shit, now what do I do?
exactly. It's like, where do I go from here? Like at first I was like, I do not want to be crazy, but then when I know that this shit's real, I'm like, fuck, now I kind of do wish I was crazy.
Well, with me, it was like I got it on film, and I gotta be very careful of who I show this, because they'll be like, oh, he's lost his mind if he thinks that I'm gonna believe that shit. And maybe there's a little bit more going on here than he's putting on. You know what I mean? Like, so I button it down. I show Steve, and he looked at me. He's like, I've seen the same stuff, and we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah. And I told, so immediately after that video ends, I had to show someone. Like, I had to show someone. That was just my immediate instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Other than getting out of the house. Well, that's not true. After that happened, I fucking ran outside for like, I don't know, like 45 seconds. So
yeah, you just like, yep, I'm out.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
And then, yeah.
Not today.
Yeah. And then I came in, and I felt bad kinda at the time. But I was like, I don't care. Someone has to fucking see this. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm living with my dad at the time, and I open up my dad's, and he heard me. Apparently, it woke him up, but he didn't actually get out to see what was going on. So he was still technically awake, but not really. So I go in, and I was like, Dad, you gotta fucking see this. And I show it to him, and little do I know, apparently he's been experiencing all the same stuff that I have. And I'm like, this is exactly what I told Rob. I was like, why didn't you tell me? And this is exactly what my dad said. My dad says, probably the exact same reason you didn't tell me. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like politics and religion. People don't want to talk about that shit anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
you bury it down.
You just put it on that middle shelf and never bring it up again.
Absolutely. There are very few people I've ever spoken to about this. Very few people that I've actually actively tried to show this video to. I mean, people randomly find it on YouTube. I think it's got like 45,000 views, but I didn't actively try to get them to watch it or anything like that.
No, my son posted my video. Yeah. Dino Nuggets was his channel.
Yeah, the only reason I posted it was because I just wanted it for like later reference, because I wanted that shit off my fucking phone.
Oh yeah. When I get asked for the originals, it's like, why would I keep that on my phone as a constant reminder? You're out of your mind. Or you accidentally stumble upon it and it takes you back to that feeling where you're like when you first felt it. And it's a feeling that you're like, all right, I got the rush. I'm fucking good. Now let's just, tone it down a little bit. And no, it never worked that way. Let me ask you, since it sounds very similar, did some bad shit happen to you, or did you go through anything leading up to that point?
Oh yeah. Well, two separate things. So it's going to sound weird, but I'm going to start with the most recent thing as opposed to the one farthest back.
Okay.
I feel like that's the best way to go about it. So the reason I was living with my father is because for starting at about 18, I went through about 9.5 years of extremely severe health problems. Like the first 4 years, I was basically fighting for my life nonstop. I'm very happy to say that as of March of this year, they finally, those idiot fucking doctors, finally
bad mechanics.
Meanwhile, the entire 9.5 years, they're like, it's all in your head, you just want dope. And then they finally do a 30-minute test, and bam, they're like, holy shit, get him into surgery. So they finally did it. So I don't deal with the pain so much. In fact, there's like no pain anymore, thank God.
Yeah.
But I deal with some after effects. So there was, that was that was very hard going through that. I honestly, it's the only miracle that I know of is the fact that I'm actually still alive.
That's always a good thing, man.
Absolutely. So that's one thing, and I'll circle back to that here in a bit, and I'm sure Rob knows what I'm talking about. But before that, when I was about 14, and I think about this a lot as a possible cause for what might be the reason as to why this all started in the first place. I don't know. It's just a thought theory. But when I was 14, well, let me back it up a little bit. So when I was 12, unfortunately, my family... Oh, excuse me. Take a breath real quick. It's a little bit difficult talking about this.
No, take your time, man.
So when I was about 12, my family, unfortunately, lost our family home. And the family that the company my dad had been working at for a very long time, unfortunately, went under. So we just had to pick a place to go, and we had to do it right then and there. Unfortunately, the place that we picked was, and I'm not too concerned about giving the name because I haven't lived there in a very long time, so I'm not concerned about privacy issues related to that.
Cool, yeah,
just Kyle, Texas.
Okay.
Kind of south of, it's 2 cities south of Austin.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great, at least at the time, I don't know if it's changed, but it's not a great person, and not a great place for a suburban, white kid to have to go to school at and live. The school I went to, my high school that I went to my freshman year is 2,700 kids. Maybe 50 of them are white, and it was not exactly conducive to one's health to be white at that school.
Mm-hmm.
Take that for what it's worth. So it's not an awesome place to live.
It's hard being Jewish, man. I feel you.
Yeah. So I had to deal with the struggles of, I saw a lot of crazy shit at that school, dealt with a lot of shit having to walk home because I lived close enough to where I wasn't eligible to ride the bus, but far enough away for where it's going to be a bit of a hairy journey getting back home. So there was that to deal with, and then, that was before they got the metal detectors in, so kids were getting stabbed and shit, and so I had to deal with that. And then when I was 14, after 2 years of that, just at the wrong place, wrong time. That's really all it comes down to. I was going for a bike ride. That's all I was doing. Another day, stopped at this park that we used to all just chill at, and the time of day that I was there, there wasn't really anyone there. It's still daytime, but there wasn't really anyone there, and I'm not going to go into the details or anything, but I was unfortunately the witness to a murder.
Oh, fuck. That'll fuck you up.
Yeah, it did. It fucked me up quite a bit. I'm very happy to say that I've gotten over it. I really struggle with it for 4 or 5 years, but
Wow.
Gone through a lot of therapy. The dreams are a lot better. I don't really deal with that as much anymore. It's almost entirely gone in terms of how I used to struggle with that.
Damn.
But unfortunately, the individuals that committed the crime also saw me witness it. So I'll let you use your imagination as to what happened after that. The thing that makes me feel as though that's a relevant thing to talk about is the individual that died also saw me. Sometimes, I don't know, and I pulled this to Serge, I didn't talk about it to Rob so much, but sometimes, I don't know if it's guilt or if there really is some, connection to what happened later on in life. But sometimes I worry because I went for obvious reasons, considering they saw me see it. I went a very long period of time without saying anything about it.
Yeah. You don't want to be the next one laying face down in a ditch.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid.
I later found out that those people were relatives of individuals I went to school with every single day. So.
Of course.
Yeah. So I didn't say jack shit for a really long time. I guess about 3.5 months.
And it ate at you, I bet. Fuck.
Yeah.
Did you snitch? Did you come out and do the right thing, or?
I guess you technically could say that. I mean, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. About
Good.
3.5 months out, I went to go talk to my counselor. It had been eating me up so bad.
Yeah.
I had like.
There's certain things you keep your mouth shut on.
PTSD.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like having genuine, like, honest to God flashbacks, which is a fucking really weird experience.
I don't mean to laugh, but fuck, that's
no,
intense.
Dude, it's fucking weird. You don't have, do whatever comes, whatever
Yeah,
reaction you have. I don't give a fuck.
That's a bag of dicks moment.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you guys for making me go through this.
Yeah, it was really difficult.
Did you ever feel like you were actually a part of it because you didn't say anything? Like, I'm just as bad as these motherfuckers because I'm sitting here not saying a word?
Yeah, for a couple years I did, but, you know, after processing and just really thinking it out, I was fucking barely, like, it was like a month after I turned 14.
Yeah.
I was a little kid. I was just stopping to take a rest after, like, a 3-mile bike ride. Like, I just happened to pick the worst possible place to stop. Like,
Yeah. No, for real. It's like, why the fuck? Of all days. And then was it a series of bad shit, like bad luck after that for you as well?
I don't know if I'd call it luck. It's more like consequences.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the whole reason my family moved up here, was because after I told the counselor and they brought up the school police officer for me to give the report, the counselor called my parents and I was like, now we know why you're always limping when you come home from school. Now we get it. That type of, like, they're putting all the dots together. And then after that, they pulled me out of school, and I don't know how the fuck word got out, like, because I only told the 2 people. It was the counselor and the fucking, I don't know if they just thought, oh, he left school, he probably said something. That must have been what it was, but as soon as I left school, every week until we moved, people were trying to break in.
Yeah.
Every single week. And
they were probably gangbangers.
We moved out.
Holy fuck. Well, at least you're sitting here, man. Now, like, leading up to your first experience, was it after that?
Oh, no, it was way after. My first experience was, no, sorry, my dog is freaking the fuck out. She doesn't understand what I'm doing. Give me 1 second.
No, yeah, take your time, man.
She's distracting me. Hold on, give me 1 second. Sorry, guys.
They're good, man. It's just a conversation between you and me. You got Rob and Search in there handling business.
No, come sit. Chill out. Okay. Sorry. Okay, where was I? So yeah, I went years after that. Like, so when I was 18 was when the sickness started. Literally after a week or 2 after my 18th birthday. And then the first experience, I think, happened when I was like 22, 23-ish, I think.
Oh, wow.
I think. Maybe 24, but I think it's more like 22, 23. So it was just, I made no connections to that. I was just so busy with being weirded out by it all that I wasn't, like, trying to figure out why it was happening. Like, at first, I thought I was like, oh my God, was this apartment complex buried on, like, an Indian burial ground?
Yeah.
Or
I need Jesus. You think about all those movies, you're like, yeah, I got to call a priest. I don't care what faith or religion you have. The immediate thing when you realize is that you're not tripping. I'm like, yep, I need God right now. And that's where I ran into the problems. Like,
I think the only reason I didn't go that way was because it was like, when I got that video, it was kind of perfect timing because we only had 2 weeks left on our lease at that point. So we moved and it just stopped entirely.
oh, wow.
Totally,
Thank
100%
you.
100% stopped for like, I guess like almost 2 years, not quite, almost 2 years it stopped. And then the second bout was when it really started to get super fucking serious, like really crazy serious.
Right. Well, slamming doors and stuff you can get used to. You know what I mean? That's if I needed to set up a camera and record every little thing that moved around by itself, it would get boring. You know,
I think the reason
whatever
it
at that
seemed
point.
more intense to me the second round.
Oh,
was
yeah.
Because in the beginning, it was more like poltergeist stuff, and it didn't. I mean, yeah, there was some semblance of intelligence behind it, or at least it seemed like there was. But the second go around, it was like this is like It seemed as though it was like a singular entity.
Right.
And this individual has complete and total intelligence, and that just did not sit well with me. It really creeped me out.
Did it ever like make noises, like hear voices or anything like that?
The second go around. If you'd like me to start with that, I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah, man, it's your story. However you want to platform it out, man. I'm already balls deep into this conversation because I know what it feels like to go through just it like that. And
Yeah.
motherfucker, this is gonna get good. So have at it, man.
Okay. Well, so about like 2 years ago, I was finally starting to get a handle on my health enough to where I could actually get a reliable job that I'm not losing like one job from another every like 2 to 3 months because of my health. My health is under control to some degree. I got a decent job. My job's like 3 minutes away from this badass apartment I found. Apartment's rent is pretty decent, so I got my own apartment. Not only that, I only got to pay half the rent because I got a roommate too.
So shit's going good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. Life is good at this point, which is why it pissed me off so much that this all started back up again.
Yeah.
And so I guess like 3 months. The first 3 months were fine. I mean, in hindsight, every once in a while I'd hear like a weird creak or knock. But I'm a rational type of person. Like, when I hear something weird going on, even after all of that weird stuff that happened before I got the video, I'm not the type of person that hears something weird and I'm like, oh my God, it's ghosts. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, no, I hear you. Why don't we show the people this so they can put, a good idea of what's happening? So, guys, I'm going to position the phone. This is the best way I can do it right now. There we go. And we are going to play. This is the footage that he was able to capture a couple years ago. And this will give everybody a better reference point to what we're talking about. So all the cabinets are open.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit. That's when you go.
Yeah, that was my I'm done point.
Yeah. That's the end of that conversation. And the last thing that you want to think about is like, should I go talk to this thing? Thank you. And you're breathing heavy and you feel like you're going to die of a heart attack?
There are only 2 people that would ever even suggest to go talk to something like that. The first one is people that have not experienced it.
Yes.
And the second one,
it just wants to communicate. Even then, they have to be out of their damn mind.
Yeah, to a certain degree at least. That's for damn sure.
Well, I mean, you're like me, it sounds like I don't have the sand for that. I just don't. And does that make me a pussy? I guess it does, if that's how you want to classify it. Because there's nothing inside of me that says, okay, let's have at this. I mean, curiosity kills the cat, and it's bad enough that I'm worried enough to know that I'm walking into a bad situation. But when you have kids, it's like, all right, now I've got to look at it out. Because the one time I shrug off a noise like that, it could be a meth addict breaking into the basement.
Exactly.
And I don't care where you live, that's a
Same way I am.
possibility. Exactly. So when I see something and it always catches me off guard because I never expecting it. You know what I mean? And that, like, if that was the first time you seen something heavy move, like when I heard the audio, the speakers aren't set up on this computer. When I heard your reaction, it was just like mine.
Yeah,
And that's the first time I've seen this. And yeah, wow. That'll get your butthole puckering, man. Like, whoa.
For sure.
So anyway, let's dive into that.
That particular incident.
And that was the first time you caught it on film. Like, how'd you feel at that moment when you experienced that and you were recording it?
It was definitely worse because in the past, it had always been like in the corner of my eye because even though you know what's happening, if you're a rational person, you always got some like reasonable doubt in your mind that you can kind of use to cope yourself with, if that makes sense. But when you got the camera up and you're looking at what was just happening, and then something equally, if not more crazy happens right in front of your focused vision, it's just like instant fight or flight moment.
Right.
Just instant. Like, I hear all these people, I see all these like ghost channels, and these comments of people saying, well, why didn't you just stand there and keep the shot? And I'm like, go fuck yourself. Like,
yes, thank you. You come do it.
I don't care if you're a fucking Navy SEAL with like 6 tours under your belt. You never had to fight ghosts.
No, they don't teach you this in school. Like, no. That's how I felt. And then I was at the point, like, I was kind of like nervous, excited when that door opened. I was like, fuck yeah, it happened. Oh, fuck. Mm-hmm. And then when you show somebody and they kind of just like tamp it out, you're like, I know that shit happened. And I know that it just did it by itself. That wasn't supposed to happen. And
it's kind of weird because even though it's like mostly terrifying, and I was talking to JB about this, there's this weird, because us human beings, we're naturally curious of the unknown.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that part in your mind where you're like, I know this is probably a fucking really dumb idea, but I'm just going to go with it. And then when it happens, you're like, I'm a fucking idiot. And then you could do that 10 times, and every time you're still, because it's that curiosity, you're still going to be like, I'm going to see what's going on. Even though the last 10 times I did this, it ended up horribly. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know what makes us do that. I guess we're just curious. I don't know if whatever these things are that are causing these events to happen want us to do that, and they have some semblance of what's the word I'm looking for? Influence on our decisions. I don't know what it is, but it's a very strange feeling to know how scary these things are, and you could have like 2 or 3 dozens of these experiences, and you still have this weird curiosity,
right?
If not more than fascination with it all.
It's almost addictive, and then you're like stuck with it. You're like, all right, I was excited, especially with the amount of stuff that happened versus what I catch on camera. Like, it got taxing over time.
Yeah, it can get really dark and really serious really fast.
Immediately.
Which is why I nipped it. I nipped that shit in the bud the second round.
How'd you do that?
and I didn't really talk to. God, it's embarrassing for me to talk about this. I didn't really talk to Rob about this at all because I don't like talking about it because it's embarrassing. But I've struggled with opioid addiction, obviously. 9.5 years of doctors not wanting to do what they want to do. They're just like, here's a bottle of candy. Take this.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
So, struggling and overcoming with that, I felt the same sensation with, there's a very similar sensation I was getting the second round ago, or like the second round of activity that I was dealing with. And I was like, I need to nip this in the bud because the feeling is really similar. And I have a feeling the outcome is going to be also similar.
Oh yeah. At that time, for sure.
Yeah.
I struggled with them too, man. I was doing Oxycontin because I blew out my left leg in football. My left knee was basically rebuilt. And the best way they said to deal with the pain post-surgery was, here, take these. And I was on them for 7 years. And it took a lot to get me off. But, a couple weeks were pretty rough. And after that, I felt better. And you're right. It's a euphoric feeling. You're like, oh, man. Did that just happen?
Similar feeling.
Slowed thoughts, panic. You get that certain anxiety that you get with stuff like that. Like, yeah, I would agree.
But I was even more scared with the potential outcome with this because, addiction is just some sort of biological response. This is like
whole body.
I personally believe this is like an intelligent thing that's trying to fuck with you.
Oh yeah.
Whatever the hell it is, I don't know what it is, but there's an intelligence behind it.
I would agree with the way it just responds in general.
Yeah.
Periodically. And it's never at a certain time. Like, I wake up pretty regularly in the middle of the night anyway, and some nights I'm in a cold sweat. But when it's in my room, like, that's fucked up. You're vulnerable when you're sleeping, taking a shower, or a shit.
Yeah, that's where most of mine were the second round of activity, which I think is partially why it was so bad for me. I don't know how you deal with actually seeing stuff. I think I would
one day at a time, brother.
Cardiac arrest.
One day at a time. That's how I deal with it. That's the only way you can deal with it, from where I sit.
I heard stuff, I felt stuff, but I never actually saw any actual quote-unquote entities, thank the Lord.
Yes, because that's a whole nother series of stress. Like, it almost feels like it's challenging me. Like, you want to play? Let's do that.
It got to the point where I was so scared that was going to happen, I would walk entirely around my house, just navigating with my peripheral vision, and I would stare and focus at my feet. Yeah. Because I was so terrified that one day the activity is going to get so bad that I'm actually going to see, like, a shadow person, if that's what you want to call it, or, like, whatever the hell those things are.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that. It's fucked up, man. It's not easy. It's not. And just seeing stuff moves bad enough. You know what I mean? But I would say the only thing that's real different at that point is that it's going to either escalate or put you into where you have to take a bunch of meds, like where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like, I take anxiety medicine like Skittles at certain times of my life.
I was drinking pretty heavy there for a little bit.
Oh, God, yeah.
Finally stopped again.
Yes. And it kind of haunts you mentally because you never know when it's going to come back or what it is. And the people that you do talk to think you're fucking crazy.
When it's happening, it's bad. But for me, the worst part was the anticipation.
Yes. Like, the best way I could describe it is when you get caught doing something you're not supposed to. And at that moment, like, fuck, I'm in trouble for this. Like I just got busted. It's like jerking off when you were a kid. Mom walks in the door and boom, there you are, dick in hand and
Fucking
everything.
A, man. I've never heard anybody explain it so perfectly as that. It's like, it feels like, I mean, it's anxiety in its pure form. It feels like when you know you've done something that you just got caught for, and the punishment's about to come down as a little kid. You know that feeling you used to get when you were a kid?
You're like,
and you know
oh
the
fuck!
ass whooping's about to come hardcore. Like that ass whooping's coming.
Yes.
It's coming soon.
It's
And
gonna
you get
light
that
me up.
feeling in the pit of your stomach.
Yeah. Oh man, and every time I experience it, that's the case. Every time. There's no getting around that feeling, and that's when I know that something's real because it's a specific feeling that you go through. It's an anxiety, panic, horror. Like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
That's how it was for me, and I heard it in your voice in your video. Like if you guys need to see this and hear it as well, go watch the video. Rob will put a link in the description for you, and you want to hear a real reaction. That's about as real as you can get. I know it because I feel it myself.
I gotta warn you guys. I do sound like a little bit of a bitch, for obvious reasons, and there is a lot of cursing. So
Oh, mine too, man. It's like stubbing your toe with the curse part. Like, how many of you ever really stubbed your toe and the first word to your, head was fuck me, or you know what I mean? There's something violently inappropriate and you shout it.
I think I said, what the fuck? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that as soon as the trash can moves.
Yeah. You can't get around that one. You can't. I can't anyway. Oh man, so let's dive into it. We getting off track, but I'm enjoying the conversation. So
yeah, me too. Okay, so I guess we'll get into. I guess we could start with the second round of activity.
Right.
When it really started to get really a little pretty dark. It wasn't just like moving objects. It started to get pretty dark and I guess you could say sinister. I feel like that's a bit of a strong word.
Did you smell it?
I never got any smells because I have shit smell. The doctors back in the day, because I was so tired of being on opiates, I was like, is there anything else you can give me? And they gave me this ketamine in a nasal spray.
Oh my God.
And after like 6 months on that, I have like no smell anymore. So maybe there was a smell, but if there was, I didn't smell it.
Wow.
But again, when it started slow. It started slow, but it started more intense, if that makes sense. So like the first thing I ever noticed was, so I had carpet in this apartment. I guess I had carpet in this last apartment too. But I'm living with me and my roommate, and we have totally opposite shifts. So I'm usually by myself. He's usually by himself. It started out as the sound that someone makes when they're walking barefoot on carpet.
It's like a thud
sound.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a thud. It kind of a thud a little bit. I guess
deeper
if you're really
sound.
walking heavy.
Yeah.
But just that rustling sound of the carpet fibers was what I would hear, and it's clearly a something that's bipedal, 2 legs. Certainly not a dog or some shit. Plus, I don't have any pets, so at the time, anyways. And I would my room, like the door to my room, you'd have to walk. I don't know, like 2.5 yards down this hallway to get to the door to my room. And then if you're outside my room, you go down that hallway, take a left, walk a little bit, take another left, there's the living room. And I would hear, and it would go on for hours, I would hear someone pacing, starting outside my door, going down the hall, taking a left, taking another left, going to the very end of my living room, and then coming back, and then starting all over. Back,
oh man, like a repeat.
Back and forth. I mean, and as soon as the first time it happened, I'm like, I go into Texan mode. I got my fucking handgun in my hand. I'm like, oh, today's the day I get to I get to protect my home because I'm a Southerner at heart. So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that offends anybody. But
No one's
so
offended
the
here,
first
man.
time I did that, I'm like, wait, I'm by myself. The deadbolts are both locked, and we got 2 deadbolts, so there's one that you can't even open from the outside, and they're both locked. So I'm like, immediately, I literally start going into a cold sweat because I know what it is. Immediately I knew what it was. So every time after that, I tried to ignore it as much as I possibly could, which is kind of like a catch-22 because, and this is one of the main goals that I have for this chat. There's some information that I feel is very important for other people to know that I want to get into a little bit more.
Good.
I'm a firm believer that the more you acknowledge it, the worse it will get. I'm a firm believer in that. I've experimented with a little bit, and every single time, the more you think about it, the more you react to it, the more you talk about it, and God forbid, the more you talk to it, the worse it will get. In that
crazy.
order. I feel like, because I keep on hearing, like, I remember Rob was talking about this. People kept on asking for him to ask the entity's name, and I'm like, you have no idea what you are playing with. Like, that's what it craves. It craves acknowledgement. Like, it's like an attention whore. Like, and it's almost like giving meth to a meth head. The more you acknowledge it, the more
nags you.
Yeah, at least that has always been my experience with any time I've ever dealt with this. So after I realized what it was and that it was starting over again, I did my best to just not go investigate it. I just realized what it was and tried to lock it away in a little compartment in my mind and just try not to think about it too much, put my headphones on and, watch a video in my bed. And I mean, these instances would go on literally sometimes for like 4 hours straight, just pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And after a while, I gotta admit, it started to get to me like it would anybody else. And the more it started freaking me out, the more active it would get, and the more intense the activity would get. Like it started, after that started, I would start getting knocks while I was trying to sleep from the inside of my closet on the door, just like knock, 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 And it wasn't just like, a hanger randomly knocked against your doors. Like there's an intelligence behind, like there's an intelligent pattern of knocking, if that makes sense to anybody. And it would happen both between my door and my bathroom. And I had one of those bathrooms where you can enter it from both your bedroom and the hallway so that like guests could use it, but you could also get into it without having to leave your bedroom, if that makes sense. So just random parts of the walls, like behind my bed, because my bed was against the wall and the wall shared the wall with the living room. I'd hear like there was somebody in my living room knocking from the other side, trying to get my attention or something. It transgressed to that. And then it finally got to the point where it was like you'd start hearing whispers. And usually, almost always, it would be like right next to your ear, and I would hear, hey. Just like over and over and over. That was extremely disturbing. Oh, and I wrote this down because I got a little pad of shit I forgot to talk to Rob about and Serge too. There was one event that was definitely one of the most frightening moments that I experienced. And it was when I was trying to go to sleep. And normally, like, the whispers and voices I would hear in the house would be male. Every once in a while, I would hear a male talking to a female. Like, a lot of the time, I would hear conversations in the living room where just, like, there'd be hushed voices. Pardon me, apparently I can't talk. There'd be hushed voices between, like, a man and a woman, but it was kind of rare. But on this particular night, definitely one of the worst instances that I experienced. I was in bed. I was getting really close to, like, actually falling asleep. And all of a sudden, and I remember it just like it was yesterday, a sound so loud. It was, imagine imagine plugging in your phone to a guitar amp. If that's like, I don't know if that's possible. I'm not a music
Right.
person.
No, I get it.
You know how loud amps are.
Yeah.
This is literally how loud it was. Imagine you played like a short audio clip over an amp and you had your ear directly pressed against the amp and you had it on 10. I heard a woman say, I even wrote it down, "Are you in the basement? Are you coming down?" And it was, and I quote, that's what it said.
Oh, shit.
And it was so fucking loud and that my ears were like, I felt like my ears were gonna fucking start bleeding. And the craziest thing about that is, I had a friend come over that was staying the night, and this is like 4 a.m. that this happened. We'd stay up very late. We didn't actually start going to bed at till 3:30, and it takes me a while to get to sleep. The crazy thing is, as loud as this was, my friend is sleeping, or at least trying to sleep on the couch in the living room, and this sounds like an amp at full volume next to my ear. And I come out damn near running, like, "Did you fucking hear that?" And he's like, "Bro, what are you talking about? I'm trying to sleep." I'm like, I didn't even try to ask him again after that. I just went back to my room. I was like, "I'm sorry." I kept forgetting to tell Serge or Rob about that.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah, that was definitely one of the most disturbing instances that I experienced. I don't know what the hell that statement is supposed to mean. Are you in the basement? Are you coming down? I have no idea what the hell that means, but that's exactly what I heard.
Sounds like it's trying to get you the fuck down there. Violate your space.
I don't know.
Oh, God. And did it get worse after that, or?
Yeah, it just kept continuously getting worse. After that, that's when the shit in the bathtub started happening. This is honestly even weirder than that statement. I've never heard of anybody talking about an experience like this, which is why it creeped me out so much. But it wasn't abnormal for me to hear someone rustling around in my bathroom, even though there's no one in my home except for myself.
Right.
But on several occasions, at least a dozen times, I would hear the sound of someone opening my shower curtain.
Oh.
And then, this is gonna fucking sound really weird, but this is exactly what it sounded like. It sounded as though someone took a large fish, like salmon size, like a large salmon size, that's alive and is agitated and is wriggling around, and you throw that large salmon into an empty bathtub. That is exactly what it would sound like. I would be sitting on my bed, trying to mind my own goddamn business, because I like to read a lot, and I just be reading on my phone. And it would sound, I would hear the shower curtain open, and then I would hear a loud thud, and it sounded, if you've ever been fishing and you catch a fish,
oh yeah,
and you throw it on the deck, it sounded like that, but imagine that, and it's in an echoey bathroom in an empty bathtub.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it sounded like, and that must have happened a dozen times. What the hell that means, I do not know.
I don't think that most of this stuff has any meaning. I just think that it's like coming here saying, "Here I am, like it or not, deal with it or don't."
I guess I mostly say that because I've literally never heard of anyone saying anything remotely similar to that in terms of like other people's experiences. I've never, and that's why it weirded me out so much, because it was like, that's exactly what it sounded like.
I have a video on TikTok to where the shower curtain opened and the water was turned on. That's what made me go in there, and my water would turn on regularly.
I've never had that happen.
The faucet or the toilet would flush. That was a fucking weird one.
Yeah.
And that one can be explained, but turning on my shower where you have to pull up the lever.
Yeah. Exactly.
That was odd. But never the noise. It was just the water turning on and off. And the one time when I went in there, the shower curtain would open. And I suppose, it was far enough to where I would hear it, the water, but I never remembered where I left the shower curtain, nor did I think that, hey, let me set this up. You know what I mean? It was like, fucking water's on again, thought it was back pressure. that wasn't the case because everything had to be redone. Like, nothing is turned on the faucets here, though. That was just in my old house.
Yeah. So I guess that whole quote unquote fish in the bathtub incidences like plural would be like the second to last phase, I guess you could call it, of severity. By the way, after the whole fish thing, that's when I was like fed up, and I was like, I guess I'll try this whole sage bullshit. Because even though I know it's real, I spent so much of my life not really taking it seriously that I'm still kind of like a jackass towards it, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Like, are you fucking kidding me? No way.
Yeah, but at this point, I'm so desperate that I'm like, fuck it, I'll try sage. I hear everyone talking about that. So I'm like, I'm trying this whole sage stuff. And like the second or third time, I can't remember exactly I did that, that's when it again started to get worse. And the first time it happened, I was in bed, and whatever this thing was, it's like it knew when I was right about to get to sleep. Like, you knew that period where you're not 100%, like you're trying to go to sleep, and you get to that period where you're not 100% conscious, but you're also not 100% asleep.
Yeah, you're dozing
like
off.
Yeah, like you're getting to the point where you're almost asleep. Like, I can't, so what would happen after like the second or third time I tried to use sage, I would be in my room, and instead of that light knocking that I would hear the first time it happened, I would hear loud, aggressive banging, like loud, like shake the walls banging.
Oh, yeah. I get that now. Yesterday.
And then after it would stop, the door would open. And then I would hear one or two of that rustling footstep sound on my carpet, and the door would close. And wouldn't hear anything for a second, and then the door would open again, and then I'd hear one or two footsteps of that rustling sound, and the door would close again. First time that happened, I was so fucking freaked out. I was like, okay, I'm sleeping with the lights on now. I don't care how hard it is to get to sleep. I'm not experiencing that again.
Right.
And I did 3 days of that. And then I was like, man, I really fucking, I gotta get some like genuine decent sleep, because it's hard to sleep like bright ass lights on. It's difficult.
Yeah.
And after the third day, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna try to sleep with the lights off again. Lo and behold, same thing happens that night. And I was like, fucking never again, not doing it. I don't care how long I have to sleep with lights on. So I go literally about 6 weeks of just nothing but sleeping with the lights on. Lights on in the closet, lights on in the bathroom, lights on in my room. And for some reason or another, it wouldn't happen. I don't know if it's like averted to light or something, whatever these things are, but it just wouldn't happen. I'd still hear like knocking every once in a while. And the fish thing in the bathroom would happen every once in a while. But it seemed like the more light that was on, the less often stuff would happen. Not necessarily the less severe things would be, but the less often it happened. At least that was my experience. And the whole time during this 6 weeks, I'm trying to do this like half-assed, like very far from being an expert in terms of like using sage, form of like trying to smudge my house just out of desperation. And then after like 6 weeks, I'm like, wow, okay, man, it's died down to a certain degree, you know, to quite a bit of a degree. I'm like, maybe I can, you know, finally for the first time in a long time sleep without the lights on. And fucking dumb. I should have at least left the light on in my closet in my bathroom, but I just like, fuck it, I'm gonna turn everything off. And now that was a huge mistake. That was a really, really big mistake, and like I kicked myself in the ass so much for making that dumbass mistake.
Yeah.
But that very night, you know, the same thing happened that made me turn the lights on in the first place. But the difference was this time, instead of the footsteps stopping at my closet door, the door would open. 1 or 2 footsteps, close the door, and now the footsteps are coming inside of my bed. Very slowly, steadily. And at this point, I'm like frozen in fear. This is tied for first. You know I'm fucking scared if I tie it with the murder that I was.
Right, no shit.
In terms of how scared I was.
It's intense.
I told this to Rob, there could have been a roaring fire around me, and the only way I survive is if I get up and fucking run out. I still probably couldn't have been able to move. That's how fucking scared I was when this was happening. And it's just slowly walking towards my bed, and it stops. And this is exactly what I hear. I hear 3 breaths, exactly 3.
Yeah. Oh, God. Fuck
it was right next to my fucking ear. I still didn't have the balls to pull the covers over my head at this point.
You're froze.
And then it stops. And it stops for a little bit. At this point, I don't think it had gone away yet. And I finally just quickly pull the covers over my head like a fucking little kid. Like that would actually do anything. But that's what I did.
Yeah. It works mentally.
And then, yeah. And then it just slowly walks back. Door opens again. 1 or 2 steps, door closes again, and it's over. And for about like 45 seconds, I could not move. I could not move to turn the light back on. I just played dead, I guess you could call it.
Oh, yeah.
I was so fucking scared.
Especially when you're laying in bed, man. And it's a lot easier to catch you off guard. And like I've always said, I can deal with it everywhere else but in my room. Because that's the one that'll cause me to lose
not,
my
like,
shit.
Fully conscious.
No, yeah. Like now you're awake for hours after that.
Oh, many nights with only like 1 or 2 hours. Many nights.
Man.
I was desperate at this point. Like I had bags under my eyes, circles around my eyes. Like people are asking me if I'm okay. I'm like, I'm fine, because you can't tell them that I'm not getting any sleep because there's a ghost in my fucking closet. You can't say that. So, like it was really exhausting after a while.
And then you get grouchy, man, because you're lost sleep. Oh, takes a toll. Changes your attitude. Usually when I'm not in this house, I am as gentle as a box of kittens, man. You get me in here, I get testy. It wears on your last nerve. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, that was the peak of that happening. From that point on, I didn't. Well, I think I'd like to go back to one event before I go further with that, actually. So I guess I'll just get into it. So about I guess like 6, maybe 7 days ago, maybe longer than that, I guess. But like once I finally found out that I was actually gonna be, I guess you'd call it being booked as a guest for this, I was like obviously a little, like not necessarily excited, but I wanted to tell my mom about it because she's one of the only people that actually knows about all this activity. She's actually seen it herself. She's experienced that whole fish thing. Because she stayed with me for about, I guess, like 4 weeks after my surgery in March, because it was a really, really big surgery, like a huge surgery, and I kind of needed help, and I didn't want to get some random-ass nurse staying with me, especially with what was going on. So she experienced some stuff, too, but after I told her, I think it was the same day, I guess she had, like, this epiphany. She was, she said, "Hey, Zach, do you think that thing that happened with that chaplain in the hospital that one time has anything to do with all this?" And I was like struck. I was like, holy fuck, I never even thought about that. And that thing in the hospital, so basically this one time, was about like 2 years into my sickness, 2.5, maybe 3 years. It's all a little bit blurry. I was in ICU. It was a really, I nearly just died the last night. I was very, very, very ill, very sick. Hooked up to like heart monitor, there's potassium, like liquid nutrients and stuff, whole 9 yards, minus like a ventilator or something. And apparently my mom was outside my room. The door to my room was open because my sister was like trying to console my mom, saying it's going to be okay, everything's going to be okay. So my mom's like bawling, and apparently this chaplain was walking down the hallway, Catholic chaplain, was walking down the hallway, and he was going to see another patient that had basically requested to see him. I guess they were Catholic or something. They wanted to talk to a chaplain. And my mom says I was pretty doped up and woozy from being so sick for so long, so I was kind of semi-out. I was conscious, but a little woozy. So I didn't remember seeing this. My mom says that the doctor passed the open doorway and was like, just stopped dead in his tracks, and backed up and looked with a really serious face at me in my bed through the door. And then my mom stopped, my mom and sister stopped doing what they were doing. I was just kind of looking at the chaplain before they could say anything. Was like, there's something attached to your son. I know that there is. Is there any way I could at least see him? And my mom said yes, so after he went to go see whoever the patient had requested him, I guess time doesn't really mean anything when you're that sick, so I have no idea how long it was. But he came and basically explained to me, and it wasn't just him now. It was him and a full-blown actual priest, like a full-blown Catholic priest was with him. And he came through, and I guess he had talked to my mom more and asked him if he could perform, I sound fucking crazy. This is what happened. He said if he could perform an exorcism. You'd think he would ask my permission, but no,
Yeah.
he didn't. He asked my mom, and she said yes, because I guess we'd been doing this for so long. She was so desperate for anything to make me better, because doctors couldn't figure out anything. And he comes in, and the ritual is I guess you could call it that, is pretty much what you see in the movies, for the most part. This guy, the chaplain, is the one that was doing most of the talking. The priest was off to the side, basically reading out of a Bible, mumbling prayers under his breath. And I got sober real fucking quick, I can tell you that.
Oh, I bet.
It was crazy as shit. And at this point in my life, I'd never really been a religious person. So when it all started, at first, my first thought was what in the fuck is happening? Why is there a priest standing in my bed? And who is this guy grabbing my arms, talking to something that's inside of me, telling it to get the fuck out?
No
So
shit. He went hands on?
Oh yeah, he grabbed both of my arms to the point where it's straight up bruising force. Really was shaking my whole body.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I'm surprised there weren't any nurses that came in. I guess he told the staff that he was going to be doing this or something. The door was open. I didn't even close the door. My mom and sister were watching this whole thing from the sides of the door. And at first I'm just shocked. I'm what the fuck is happening? And then after I guess 2 or 3 minutes, I'm can we get on with this? Because I don't feel very well and I want to go back to sleep.
Right.
And after a little bit, he's saying, what is his name, Zachary? What is his name? And I'm just fuck, I just want this to end. I don't know his goddamn name. I don't even know what you're talking about. So I'm just I'm trying to think of the first name that can possibly come to my mind, and I spit out the name Jeffrey. And for the next this went on for a good 16, 17 minutes, I think. Because I was real sober at that point. And from that point on, he started addressing this thing that he believed was inside of me. Maybe there really was something inside of me. I don't know. As Jeffrey, which I thought was even more silly because I just fucking spit it out a name.
Because he just ran with it.
Yeah, and
that makes me skeptical, man. Like,
yeah,
I get it, and it's all about power of belief. But if he genuinely saw something on you, like I've been told by religious figures, nobody's ever went hands on. In fact, they went hands off and then left.
Yeah, I know. I remember you talking about that, which I think is incredibly fucked up and doesn't really make any sense to me, especially if you're actively seeking help. But anyways, he finally stopped, and obviously that turned me off to religion for about 2 years. So
right, it shook you up a little bit,
like,
literally.
I just thought it was just some crazy ass religious bullshit. Like, and then I even thought it was even more crazy religious bullshit because I found out the guy that was doing most of the hands-on stuff was an ex-Pentecostal guy that converted to Catholicism. And if you know anything about Pentecostals,
yeah, speaking in tongues,
hardcore.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and
they
so I just
get after it.
Chalked it up to that. But when my mom, offered up that thought, I was like, holy fuck. See, I would have never thought anything of it if I hadn't had those experiences later on in life. I would have never thought, holy shit, maybe he really did see something. I would have just always thought this is just some crazy religious kook. It was just, I don't know. But, yeah, that's that. That happened.
Whoa. That sounds fucked up. I don't know how I would have handled somebody walking into my home and going hands on and shaking me up. It would have freaked me out more than anything.
It freaked me out during, but I'd nearly died the night before, so I got over it pretty quick because I had other things on my mind. So.
Right. Oh, I mean, how did that... When you hear stuff like that and people go to that level, it's almost like it sets you back even further, especially when you're going through some real personal shit. I mean, do you think our resistance to certain things is the reason that, we go through the shit?
Repeat that one more time.
Do you ever feel like being resistant to, help that you think that's clearly visually psychotic to you is the reason why, it sticks so much?
I'm not sure. I really don't.
I've been told my faith in God's weak, and I just, like I've always said, I believe in God. I'm right there with a lot of religious people. I don't believe that, my beliefs should be measured in attendance, nor worth 10% of my income. You know what I mean? I get that it's good to be giving, but at a certain point when you see certain things like homes and cars and stuff like that, no taxes, it's just, I let a lot of outside influences sway me in that way. And I've had people from a lot of different religions tell me to try to get closer with God. But when you go through stuff like this, that's the last thing that comes to your mind during that moment. And I'll pray when I don't have to, even. It's just not when I'm in trouble. But nobody's praying for me, it feels like. And it also feels like it don't matter how much I pray, it's never going to go away. So now I have to learn to educate myself with it and, try to at least pinpoint out, or if like I'm in deep shit, is it evil? Which it don't feel friendly at all.
No.
It thrives off torment. Like when I have that anxiety, fear going on, and it's like I'm getting like real pushed, it's when it's at its intense moments. And we all go through fucking things in real life. And when you have a bad day, it's not going to end at the office or at the car door. I mean, for me, if I'm having a bad day and I get home and I'm here by myself, like I know I have hell to pay.
Yeah.
And I just I've been the religious route, and I think that there's a more logical way to take care of it without, you know, going to the level that they're saying, like spiritual counseling and doing all that. Who the fuck has time for that?
I think I mostly agree. I will say that it could be possible that that's how it latched on, was because I was not very Christian. But I will say this: about 2.5 years, I don't like talking about my religion.
Me
I don't
either.
talk about it, nor do I go to church. It's my thing, but I will say I am devout in my personal faith. It is a very big part of my life. It became a very, very big part of my life I'd say about 2.5 years after that whole exorcism thing. I'm not Catholic. But it is a very large part of my life, and that was before the second go around in terms of the activity. So maybe it started it and it just latched on. But if becoming super religious is what gets rid of it, then
I'm fucked.
I call bullshit on that, because I mean, I'm a very religious person. I'm not the type of person that goes preaching to people. In fact, if people try talking to me about religion, I just nod and say, yeah, I'm religious, but I'm not going to talk about it with you.
Oh, I
That's
shut
my
down.
thing.
I shut it down. Like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. Because it's only ever going to go to one place, and we all know what that place is going to go to. That's my thing. You do you, I'm going to do me, okay? So
Right.
at least that's how I feel about it.
Agree to disagree right out the gate, and you save yourself a lot of trouble.
Amen to that.
I respect the people on both sides of the fence. It's just that's not the way I've ended up living my life. It's not that I did it by choice. It's just when life grabbed a hold of me, like the last thing that I was thinking about is seeking God for help, because the reality is there's no one that's going to change my situation besides myself. You know what I mean? And once you grab a hold of that, like my whole situation turned around. You have to find purpose in what you got to deal with. You know what I mean? And the thing that frustrates me the most is I did everything that I had to do to regain everything that I had that I lost because of my own stupidity. You know what I mean? I could have taken my divorce in a lot of different routes. It's just I didn't want the fighting, and it ended up being that way anyway. You know, don't ever settle in mediation if you're a sensitive person in general, because it'll just come back to haunt you. And when you got that shit that you have to deal with years after you sign the paperwork to try to get away from it, I think that, you know, a compile of just real life, and that was my situation, and the stress that I had here, I started to shut down, man.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, my poor mom, she literally just got her papers in the mail like 4 days ago, and it all started 7 years ago. So
that's what I'm saying, man.
yeah.
And when you have to deal with that, it's like,
personally.
I've had those moments to where I feel like I'm at the end of the rope, and I'll look up and, you know, say my piece. But, you know, at a certain time when you're dealing with both sides of the fence, spiritual and reality, it's easy to blame and start pointing fingers and get bitter.
Oh, absolutely.
And
that's how I felt with my health issues.
Oh, yeah. Like,
for
what
me,
the fuck?
that's what it was for me. Because it just took everything from me was my health issues. I mean, I dropped out of school. I didn't drop out of school, but I chose at the age of 16 to not be homeschooled, but to homeschool myself, because the only thing I ever wanted to do from the age of 4 was to join the United States Airborne Army. All I ever wanted to do was like my biggest dream in the world. And I stopped public school at the age of 16, graduated early right after my 17th birthday with a 3.9 GPA, and immediately started training physically and for the ASVAB. And like a month before I was supposed to give my oath, I start puking.
Oh,
and
man.
so having the world at your fingertips, and then having everything taken from this random ass illness that no doctor will help you with, you can make you really bitter and
Oh, more so, just angry.
yeah, I was putting it lightly. I've broken many a coffee mugs.
Oh yeah.
And doors and walls
And then just wondered why. Like, what the fuck is the point of this? Did I really fuck up that bad in life to go through this? Thanks. You know, like, eat a bag of dicks. You're fucked up. That's how I felt. And sometimes I get that wave of negativity where I'm just like, I lash out in my own ways, you know what I mean? Not where other people can see, but I've talked pretty ill to our Lord. You know what I mean? And at some point, you have to reel yourself back in and stick your head down and get to a grind. But it is not as easy as people think, man. When you lose everything and you realize, like, fuck, whether it be health or a divorce or just anything in general, bad decisions, people make them all the time. It defines who you are, I think, the way you rise up. But even when you rise back up, like I have, and got my shit all pulled back together, stopped doing a lot of things that were, you know, leading down a bad road, and those are simple things even in life. And then I have this thing attached to me, I've been told. You just never feel fulfillment out of it because it reminds you of all those bad times because it was there with me the whole time. You know, I'm dealing with it while I'm dealing with life. And it makes you paranoid, scared.
Oh yes, definitely. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to come on in the first place, because I know everything you're saying, what you just said, it brings home to me.
Yeah.
And I feel shitty saying this, but I got out on the other side of it. Like, I don't have to deal with that activity anymore, and I'm finally moving on. And I guess I just want to help in any way possible.
Oh, and I thank you for that, man. And to be honest with you, I want the help, but how in the fuck do you ask for the help? And what do you ask them to, how do you help? I've tried a lot of shit, man, and the people who are serious want nothing to do with a camera. You know what I mean? They're like, if you're really going through this, then you can put that away and we'll have a conversation. And I've tried that. The mediums, I've got to say, everyone I've met, I'm going to call bullshit. They're opportunists.
It's the 99% thing.
Yes. And when they ask for money and it's not about help anymore, it's like, no. It's like buying a scratch ticket. You're either going to get the result you want or you're not. And most of the time, it's not. Not discrediting them at all because
it's a fake result.
Yeah, it's one that they know you want to hear, or there's some of them that are out there that are fucked up that are like, oh, you're fucked. You know, and I hear that more than I hear anything else. But I've never been possessed by the thing nor felt the need of it. It's just the emotional roller coaster that I've gone through, like, and just random fucked up shit. Like, I'm not 100% right now because a couple weeks back I got into a bad car accident. I was going real fast, above 75 miles an hour, which was the posted speed limit, so probably 78. And this lady jerked out of a lane from a complete stop and stopped me dead in my tracks. I had no time to react. She just whipped it over in front of me. And I smashed into the windshield. And because of the area that I hit on my car, it was a BMW, there's only sensors that trigger the inside airbags. And when she pulled over in my lane, it only got a small area of my passenger side. But when you're going that fast and you come to a complete stop and you don't know how that happened, like, I was like, honestly, the first thing that went through my head is like, all right, this is what it feels like to die. A bomb just went off and hit me or something, like, and it was like ringing.
Laugh, but I got in a car wreck with a semi, so I just know what you're talking
Yeah, and you're just like, well, fuck, that sucks. And then you start to come to, and it's just like a complete daze. And,
Yeah.
you know, I got off to the side of the road and was able to get picked up. Cops wouldn't show up. They had other stuff that was doing. As long as drugs or alcohol weren't involved or nobody was dead, they told us to exchange info.
Yeah.
And
They thought I was dead.
yeah, oh man. And within 6 hours after that, I haven't been able to shake it. Like my ears are still ringing. I get headaches so bad, and I went to the doctor today for my eyesight because my right eye, I hit on my right side head first, and I have to permanently wear glasses now because I'm going to lose sight in my right eye.
And I'm really
And
sorry to hear that.
oh
At least
man, you know, and
bad.
it's like, come on, just how much more can I take? And I've been in a lot of car wrecks that haven't been my fault, you know, and
Yeah.
it makes me feel sometimes like, fuck, am I on borrowed time here?
I mean, you said it almost in the very bit, like very close to the beginning of this. You got to take it one day at a time. That is, you know, I used to hear that so much when I was younger, and I was like, just go fuck off. You know?
Yeah.
When it finally clicks, it is like the biggest truth on this planet.
Right.
You got to stay in the moment. And I mean, like, literally the moment. I'm not talking 10 seconds ahead, 10 seconds back. Like, literally in the moment. I mean, well, obviously to a certain
Right.
degree, but
You got to deal
what I'm saying.
second by second to be able to put another foot in front.
Exactly, yeah.
And that, I think the meaning for me with that one day at a time is dealing with every second that I struggle.
Yeah.
And then when a full day's passed, but it does get easier. It has for me. It's just there's certain aspects, like in any normal person's life, that you're going to struggle with from time to time. And that's a lot easier than having a plate full of shit that you have no certain outcome. And going through the wreck added a lot to my plate because you have to deal with insurances that don't want to pay. And you know what I mean? To get a fucking rental car, I was scared to drive, man. Like, I was really fucked up. I'm still am. Saturday, we're going to hit the road, and, you know, I'm going to be loopy. It's just something that I got to push through, but I took 2 months off for a reason, and I can't. My whole goal is to go educate myself because I've tried a lot of different aspects. Sage, Palo Santo, talking to, you know, various people, religious and non-religious. I'm going to go back to where I started first experience it, which was in New Orleans, and try to get answers there with some very interesting people, and, you know, see what's evil and what's not just by going to some of these locations that have had horrible shit happen. You know what I mean? And I know what that feeling feels like. And if it's something that really is attached to me, then, you know, I'm going to find out. And am I going to be like balls of steel guy now and all of a sudden can face all these scary things? Oh, fuck no. And I think that there's some things that, you know, are going to come up that I'm going to lose my shit on. But like you've said before, like, I'm so desperate at this point to either learn how to get a handle on it and deal with it or get rid of it, which I've almost come to believe is not going to happen. Just because I've talked to people, I've tried things, and dude, it doesn't work the way it does on the movies. It's not something that somebody's been able to come out and read a couple verses out of a Bible, spray some holy water around, and then poof, it's a magic dragon gone. No, man. And if people have experienced that way, hell yeah, they don't know how lucky they are. But very few movies that I've seen that, you know, had exorcism in them, the person lived. You know what I mean? Like, so I am trying to stay positive about it. And I've got photos of me in random places with shit you can see, you know, that pretty much everywhere I'm at. People, I posted to Rob the video, or not the video, the picture of the car to tell him I was in an accident because it was on a night where I was supposed to do this. And, when he shared that out with people to, kind of inform them what happened, they said they saw something in my car.
Yeah, that was extremely concerning.
You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? If it's not gonna
It took only
leave,
2
then
seconds to see
can we
that.
become friends? Do you like to smoke weed? Like, whatever it is, to just hit the brakes a little on me, man. Give me a. And I hope to find those answers, bro.
So that kind of brings me to my second goal that I had for this, which is explaining how I am 100% convinced how it stopped for me. And I'm somewhat worried that it might aggravate you a little bit, because if someone told me that it was going to work as well for me, I'd probably be aggravated as well. But there is I later learned, after, half-assing Palo Santos and Sage, that there's a very, very specific way in which you have to do it. And when I did it that way, it took quite some time to actually finish it. Not only did nothing ever happen ever again, at least not anything seriously significant, but you could feel it before you even gave it a chance to see if it could work. And I don't pretend to understand, to know why it works. And I'm certainly not going to be arrogant enough to say that it's absolutely going to work for you.
As long as it don't piss it off, man. Fuck.
Yes, because in the past I have noticed that when I kind of half-assed it, it definitely did aggravate it, whatever it is. But I think if you were ever going to try it, I think, one, you should be present in the house, and I think others should do it. I do not at all pretend to be an expert in any way, shape, or form. I'm not even like an amateur, really. I'm like less than that, but I do know what worked for me, and I know shit was getting really serious really quick with me. And I know that whatever it was that I did, however it was that I did it, it stopped it dead in its tracks. Really, I found out, one, I had no fucking clue you're supposed to have a door open leading to the outside. I had no idea you're supposed to do that. That's one thing that I think some people are aware of. And another is I focus heavily on the corners of my walls and ceilings. Heavily, I mean like every single corner in your entire home. I'm talking like inside your cabinets, underneath your sinks, like everything. I like to think of it as tear gas for those little fuckers that have been screwing with me and you both.
Yeah.
I'm not at all saying it's going to work for you. All I can say is that it totally stopped it dead in my tracks for me. I'm mostly saying this for the listeners, if they're dealing with less severe instances, so that it doesn't get as severe as it could potentially get.
Smudge it. That's what I've been told.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's like a hippie term. But,
yeah.
But whatever it is, however it works, who the fuck knows why corners are important? All I know is that apparently they are very important. Because, I'm telling you, I was so fed up with it after that thing with the closet, the last instance with the closet. I was like, I started diving deep. I must have spent 6 hours before I found out that the whole corner thing is a thing.
Right.
And I was like, fuck it, I'll try it. And lo and behold, not only did it end up working, but as soon as I was done, and it takes a little bit, man. You'd be surprised how many corners there are in your house.
Oh, yeah. And I don't have a little house. So it'd take me a while.
It takes a little bit, but as soon as I got done with the last one, and you gotta have something open, whether it's a window.
Yeah, I had windows open.
Yeah.
And then I watched a 70,000 comment debate on TikTok that it's either witchcraft, it never fucking works, it makes it worse, that Jesus is the only person that I needed to call a healer or a Native American to come do it with a feather. Like all of the shit I've read about sage, man,
Yeah.
you pick a topic and there's an argument about it. So
And I don't know anything about that. All I know is it instantaneously went from being the most severe it's ever been so far to nothing.
yeah, I've been that desperate and tried it, man. I don't know if you've seen that video on TikTok, but you see it in my hand.
Yeah.
And that was like the fourth stick.
Yeah. Have you ever tried waving it closely to the corners of your house?
Dude, I put it
Inside
in the
your house?
corners of my house. I've rubbed the smoke in front of me while doing that as well. Like basted it up into my face and all over me, and then I'd go to another corner and do the same thing. Like I've tried a lot of different stuff, and that's how I found out about Palo Santo. It's just a little chunk of wood you light on fire and have to constantly blow on the shit. Yeah. To keep it smoking.
What I did was before I started was I lit one in every single one of my room. Every single room in the house, and then that's when I started. I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to work for you.
No, yeah, I mean, I'll try it again, but you know, we're talking 8 years later now that I've been dealing with this, and there's some sense of security that I get just walking down into the basement with the sage. That's why I've done it so many different times, but the reality, it's either like you, I'm doing it wrong and I'm getting bad advice, or the videos I've watched on YouTube, which are, you know, very specific, but they do vary in different methods. I will eventually sit down with somebody in New Orleans that can give me advice on all that, but more than anything, I just want to see how they react and say stuff to me, and then I can be like, you know what, because that's strange that you would say that, because this is what's happening since I've left here last. Like, you know, absinthe is a motherfucker, man. I drank quite a bit of it, and I don't know what I was thinking when I went in there to do it, and it sobered me up to where I was like, okay, I don't ever want to experience this feeling again. And then, you know, all the way there, not a speedy driver. I got a couple different speeding tickets on the way there and home because I was the only one that drove, and like right after that, it was like a domino effect, one bad thing after another, and it became overwhelming. And then I tried the sage, I've tried a number of daily prayers, I've talked to people, I've video chatted. Like, I don't know if Rob told you, but he came out here for the first time, and within hours he was dead sick, pale white, throwing up, just sick. And then he had 3 friends die on the same day. So, you know what I mean? And it's like every time somebody comes to help me, right down to JC, he got scratched. You know what I mean? Like, I've had people not come in.
I've seen all of those videos.
Yeah. You know, so I'm at a point where it's like almost like, all right, who do I let in? Like, how badly do I need this help to where I'd put somebody else possibly in danger? Or scaring them so bad that they're like, yeah, homie, you're on your own. It's like, oh, fuck. It's hard to find help. It is. And I don't know how to ask for the right help, apparently. So I think the more I'm educated about it.
I think you've already started doing that.
Doing what?
Asking for help right now. I mean,
oh, yeah. That's part of the reason I do this, because not only do you get a chance to speak your mind, because I'm big with that. You know, people that need to experience this need to come out, because we're all starting out with the same thing. Like, people are going to think I'm crazy. I'm going to get called everything. I'll take your criticism. Doesn't fucking bother me. You know what I mean? Like, just chat it out. And if I could put enough of this stuff together, like with what you were saying, and try a different method with sage, I'll try anything.
Don't put a lot of thought into that before you do that, and I honestly would not do it.
It didn't help, man.
Don't do it by yourself, and honestly, I wouldn't even recommend that. I do think you need to be in the house, but
people who come here can feel it. that it's a very musky, and I'm a fucking neat freak. Didn't get COVID because I don't like touching people anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
keep your distance. Germs, I hate them. And it's just like every once in a while in different areas of the house, especially in that back corner of the basement, you get this foul odor of just rotten ass. And I can't, that's the worst thing for me. I would rather see it all day than describe that feeling when you can smell it, because it's like that doomed feeling. You're like, oh man. And even then, you can't explain it because it's not pipes. The house is newer. You know what I mean? There's no radon leaking. Everything's been tested. No sewage. It's just a random occurrence of like rotting flesh, sulfury ass.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me, because every single person that, you know, claims to know or actually knows says that that's an evil thing. You know, but it's never come to the point where I feel like I'm gonna die. It's just like, if you want me, man, come get me at this point. And everybody says that that's a piss poor attitude to have, but I've reached the end. And I would never take off time for work, extended time, to go do anything like I'm getting ready to do, if it wasn't for an attempt to just discover it for myself. And I could tell immediately in some places, man, if it's there or not. I can't explain why. It's not like I'm psychic. It's just the way I feel, and I get uneasy, and then I don't always see something. It's just I feel that something is bad around me or getting ready to happen.
I know exactly what you're talking
You know,
about.
like a door open or something move, or I'll hear a voice. Like, that's the type of shit that I've come accustomed to. And even in my home, I'll get a certain feeling, and then sure as shit, every time something will happen. Every time, 100%.
Game on.
Yes. And it's like, it'll hit me randomly at this point where I'm just like, all right, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to turn on my ambient noise. I'm going to crank my music, and I'm just going to ride the storm. And that's worked a lot. That's why I always have music on, but they frown on that shit on YouTube, or you'd be hearing it right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's little bits and pieces of everybody's story, and I think it makes people, like, especially with me, you know, talking about it with people who really go through that shit, and you can tell by the feelings that they have, because I think that's a pretty universal thing. When something scares you, it's a certain type of panic, and I'll call bullshit. You know what I mean? Like 100% of the time. But, you know, hearing this and people telling me to go out and educate myself, you can only look in so many books, because the variety of opinions and reasons and why are so widespread. You'll never be able to, you know, get any type of gratification unless you purposely put yourself into those positions. And my idea is to see if it's evil.
How many people have had experiences, but they're just like you and me. They don't want to fucking talk about it because they don't want to get thrown in the loony bin.
No, and that's why we're doing this show, because it's a community of people that have good insight and input, that aren't out there to judge people. Like, I was one of them, especially with aliens. I'm going to admit, man, when the Pentagon came out and said, yeah, there's shit that flies around that's not ours, or anything that we know of, and we're the most technologically advanced nation in the world. And then I felt like an instant prick, like, oh man, how many UFO things have I seen where, like, these fucking people are completely nuts, especially the abductees. Like, man, you must have hit your head hard or young, or those are really good drugs. Some ayahuasca shit, or, you know, DMT, or acid, mushrooms.
Interesting. I never even thought about that. Do you know anything about DMT?
I do, a little bit.
Have you ever considered that?
I've done it.
Have you done it with a shaman, though?
No. I did it in my buddy's garage on a couch
Well,
when I was younger.
But you have like smoking it, right?
Yeah, it was one hit, and then like 20 minutes later I came to and was completely baffled. Like, what the
It's
fuck?
crazy shit, right?
Oh, it was nuts. Looking at yourself,
Um,
it was weird. Being in a dark space and just like you're floating, it was such a euphoric feeling. It's hard to describe. You just have to try it. But I know that there's a number of people that swear by
I
it.
that didn't even come to my mind. See, I am a strong believer that, I hope this doesn't turn you off to me as a person or anyone else listening to me, but I am a strong believer that DMT is the true holy sacrament.
Well, it's a chemical that's produced when you're born and when you die. It's what helps you allegedly transfer over from life to death.
Yeah. You
And
ever heard of the acacia tree?
I have.
That's the burning bush in the Bible. And I find it quite strange that as soon as he was in front of that burning bush, he started seeing God.
Yeah.
So
Maybe a little stone.
that might be something to look into.
Yeah.
JB.
I've done one hit. I wouldn't want to experience that again. It didn't like change my life at all. But it was definitely something that was unlike anything I've experienced. You're a little bit more sharp minded after that, I would say. It opens up your eyes in a different way.
It's certainly worth looking into. I would strongly recommend that, especially considering the point that you're at.
To try it?
I didn't even think of that.
Hell no. I can't deal with that type of stuff, man. I've done peyote, had an Indian friend in college, my first year, my freshman year. He was pure blooded, and it's just a little cactus, and we drink it out of a wooden bowl, and we're up in the San Juan forest, and that was odd too. And you either freak out or you have a wonderful experience, and it was just an uncomfortable one for me. So that is one area I can't dabble.
Because I'm the same way with everything. I hate hallucinogens.
I can't deal with
for DMT.
Yeah, DMT. It was too much. It was really intense, and I don't want to, dabble in shit that might fuck up my transition from life into death and agony. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt off to me. I don't like not being in control of my emotions.
I agree with that.
And you were not in control when you take that hit.
You do what you want.
Yeah.
I still strongly recommend you at least look into it a little bit and try to educate. Like, you've been researching and trying to educate yourself on all these other things. I think what can it hurt?
No, you're right. And there's a lot. I would want to do it in a correct setting.
On the street, just maybe look into it a bit.
Right. And it's not something that I would go to a religious figure and do the whole little ceremony thing instead of on a couch in my buddy's garage. That was maybe part of the reason why I didn't enjoy the experience. But I never really fully enjoy hallucinations. Right.
Set and setting is everything.
Yeah.
With that type of stuff.
And I hear of these ayahuasca, I think it's a root. They have festivals of it that I would be interested in going there.
It's just a drinkable form of DMT.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind going to one of those religious festivals that they do that and seeing if that might help. But even then, that's really grasping at straws. You know what I mean?
They have these places that people with severe... I'm not gonna lie. I had severe post-traumatic stress disorder related to that murder, and that's why I'm kind of
edgy
talking about it so much right now.
Yeah.
It stopped after my particular experience with dimethyltryptamine DMT, and they have these places where they have genuine Native American shamans that help people with severe post-traumatic stress disorder. All sorts of different things like that. And in fact, its main use back in the old days was for the exact same thing you're experiencing right now.
Right. Well,
I'm
there's an
certainly something to look
experimental
into.
thing that it's called the Gagliana something. It's a shot in a gland in your neck, and that helps with the PTSD. And I went ahead and tried that, and my experiences didn't stop, but my fight or flight was, briefly, controlled, and it kind of resets your system. And I have done
Yeah.
that, in this past 7 years, and it's helped me with the anxiety and the stress and the things that are, causing that trigger effect. But,
Yeah.
I've tried a lot, man. I've went pretty far on the things that I would do to try to help me get a grasp of it, and now I'm finally just fed up to the point where I'm going to put myself in situations, identify if mine's evil or not, and then educate myself throughout that experience to just deal with my own demon.
See,
And I've
this
been
is why
told that
I.
by
Oh, I'm so
everyone.
sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
This is why I identify so much with you and this channel is because the way you feel is exactly the way I felt with my sickness, because I tried this, I tried that, I tried this, I tried that, I tried this, I tried that. Just one after another people where they go, yeah, not really anything we can do to help you. I mean, we could help you, but we're not gonna. Oh, and by the way, you owe me $600.
Right.
So,
And it's like, nothing happened, you ass. I'm not paying you anything. If you were
yeah,
so psychic, you would have fucking knew that when I sat down. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. Do I have stupid written across my head? Maybe crazy, but not an idiot.
yeah. Me, I was just so fucking desperate. I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I just wanted the pain to stop. But I mean, there's two different types of pain. There's mental pain and physical pain. They're both pain.
I think I experienced the mental side of it. I'm a pretty healthy guy, man. Until I hit that windshield at 70 miles an hour and a big dude with a thick head, like it shook me. And I mean, this last couple of weeks has been incredibly humbling for some reason. And this is the last piece of the puzzle for me before I can maintain control again of my own thoughts, emotions, and life. And if I have to go to the end of the fucking planet to find that, I will. Literally 2 months off of work to get this shit sorted. And I'm going to document it and let everybody see it, but it's going to be a variety of stuff. It's not like I'm going out to every haunted location that I can, in a sense, just that. I mean, along the way, I've got to stop and balance myself out. So my first trip to get my mind clean is some fly fishing in, New Mexico, gold medal water. And that's how I'm going to start this journey, is one with nature, which, like I said, I've talked to a variety of different religions, and the one I can identify with the most is just the pure tranquil feeling of being out and doing something that I absolutely love. And fishing takes away my stress and puts me in a better mood and a better place just mentally. And I think that will assist along the way, especially going into places that have had horrible shit happen in them. And the big reason for that, why I've been told, is to help me face my fear, because a lot of people are like, this dude's a chicken. You bet your fucking ass I am. And if I could help, like, deliberately put myself into a situation that I know something's a good chance of happening and it's not my home, I can
It's like
evaluate
exposure
how that makes
therapy.
me feel. You know what I mean? Really, I can evaluate, like, hey, this is real mild. This is what I feel. And then if it's evil, then I'll immediately know that, and I'll become a nervous chihuahua. Because Rob had to beg me to go into the fucking basement, and I yelled down to him when he was live, like, fuck you. I'm not coming down there. I'll let the phone die.
I had this thought, and I gotta let it out there. I hope it is not offensive in any way, but I think it's fucking hilarious. It just kind of fucked up. But whenever you started talking about going to these places, the first thing I thought about was like, what if something else attaches on and it's like a Godzilla King Kong scenario?
Yeah, I've thought of that, man, but I think I'm in a dead battle with it. And
Yeah, I
it's
know.
not something that can overtake me, or it would have already, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just if I can add more bullets to the chamber, and if I do pick something up, maybe it's something positive.
Yeah, that
If
would
it's
have been the
bad,
first thing
how
to
much
say.
worse can it get? You know what I mean? Like, seriously, I hear a
I think
woman's
you cut out for a
chuckling.
second. What was that last thing you said?
I mean, how much worse can it get? If I pick up another one, hopefully you'll fight the other one and they can
Yeah.
battle that shit out. But my opinion is already how much worse can it get? Because I hear a woman laughing and screaming once at the top of her lungs to where I literally let out a death moan, like an "Oh my God!"
That's, in my opinion, the most frightening video you have on there.
Right.
That was from you and JB, right?
Yeah, JC.
JC, pardon me.
Yeah, he's a good friend, and he'll be back eventually, but it's a lot to handle, man. This is not an easy thing to do. So if I go out and educate myself and pick up a few tricks along the way and can identify at least what I'm working with, then I can, go back out and seek the proper help because I know exactly what I'm dealing with, or at least have a rough idea. And that's the way they've been able to rationalize this for me, is to go out and deliberately try to stir the pot and see what happens and how I feel and how I can identify it, which I can also think's completely fucking insane because one, I had to take 2 months off of work to do it, which is cool, but I just don't know how I feel yet until I get to the first spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll be going live the whole time. It makes me feel a little bit better because if some people else can see it while it's happening live, then that's a whole different thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you're not the only person witnessing it. I totally
Right.
understand that.
And then at that point, it's like, well, you have more ammo at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, that's key is just surrounding yourself with like-minded people that are positive. And that's a good philosophy to have in every aspect of life. Don't put yourself around people that are gonna fuck you up.
Absolutely.
And since I've done that, like I may spend a lot of time alone, but I don't. Living people scare me more than dead ones. For real. Like,
truest
at what point I have enough on my plate, I don't need to take on anybody else's bullshit in real life either. I really don't, because there's a lot of psychos out there, and you just don't know anymore.
And that is a healthy state of mind to be in. A lot of people think that's being antisocial.
No.
And maybe to a certain degree it is, but for the most part, that's just thinking of your own psyche first and staying away from being a codependent person, because you got to handle your own bullshit before you handle some other batshit crazy person. No offense to anybody that has problems.
No, yeah. And I get asked a lot for help to come out and see people's places, which I have no problem doing in the future. But let me get a hold of my own shit first. Exactly. And once I get educated and I can give you good insight that's not completely out there, then that's the way I would approach it, is keep the reality in it. And if I start to feel something, that's when you guys need to be glued to your camera. Because the first thing you'll see me do is jump out of a fucking window if I have to avoid that feeling coming into a reality for me. And if I can learn how to curb that feeling, dude, my life would be a lot easier, because at a certain point you get tired of running.
Yeah.
Even in real life, like you at a certain point you got to stop running and face your problem. And I'm at that fucking point, man. No doubt I'm at that limit. It's either time to face up and deal with the consequences, or live my life being paranoid. I jump so easy now, like, and when, I'm woken up, like I damn near explode out of bed or off the couch. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And it's never been that way. This last 7-8 years, oh man, progressively have gotten worse. I'm a very jumpy dude. Yeah, and I'm at
We
that.
all do. You can only go so far. You can only go so far, but before it gets to where you're just like animal mode.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the best way to explain it, but that's the only way I know.
And you defend yourself viciously because it's easier to shrug some stuff off, but when you hit something that you read in a comment, that's why I have them heavily gone through before I'll go through them, because that just perpetuates more of a bad feeling for me, because I know what I go through is real, and I've never asked anybody to believe a fucking word that I've said. I already know most won't. But you get that one story like yours, and it's like you can identify immediately because it's all in how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
It's fuck what the camera sees, fuck what, is there or isn't there. It's the way that it makes you feel that defines it.
You can hear it in the voice.
Yeah.
Like, I've gone through hundreds of those videos and shit, and a lot of them you're like, okay, here we go again. But every once in a while you'll be like, okay, you can hear it in the voice because you've heard it in your own voice.
Oh yeah. It's hard, but I think if we face it, like I've had to do everything else in life, I've had to face it head on. I can't dodge it anymore. I'm tired. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's at a point now that I want to catch it for other people to come on here and tell their story, because the more of us that have the balls to speak about it, the less and less it's hard to refute, and the more people will come out and talk about other things in real life. If you can talk about a ghost, then you can talk about any real life problems easily.
Oh, yeah.
That will also help you. And that's the goal of this for me, is to not only educate myself, but to get people talking, so the community grows bigger and bigger, and the more that we can figure it out collectively, that and that's the goal here, man. But yeah, I mean, we've been at it for almost 2 hours now, brother. But you got to stay in contact, man, and feel free to jump in the comments and say anything. And again, guys, there is a link in this video to his channel. I urge you all to go there and check it out. And thanks again, dude, for coming on and doing this. And you'll see us very shortly. We leave Saturday.
It's my pleasure.
All right, my friend. Well, you have a good night, and thanks for coming on, dude.
Absolutely.
All right, bro. Later.
Later.
All right, guys. That was a good one. And I encouraged, go to check out his channel. And like I said earlier about the car wreck, sorry, guys, that it's taken a while for me to get on. And, we'll get back at it starting Saturday. And, just excuse me if I seem a little out of it for a while. It'll slowly come back. Concussions are a little slower to heal up. So thanks again to Durban Paranormal, good content creator, good friend of ours here at Dino Nuggets. Go check out his channel, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment that we sent you over. And guys, again, Saturday we'll start it out with an intro and take some of you guys along for a windshield ride and kind of experience the whole thing, both on a video and a live session. And we can't wait to have you. So me and Rob will be doing that starting Saturday. So watch that. And for people who are new to the channel, if you like the content, just wait till you see what we got coming. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like, share, comment. Helps us out and gets our word out a little bit better. So again, guys, I thank you for everything. And it's because of you guys that this trip's happening. And we all appreciate it. So again, thanks for coming out tonight and hearing another great story from a good dude. And we'll see you soon. Take care and have a good night.